historian has noted that those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. The Bible says the people perish for lack of knowledge. And we've had former members of the Soviet secret police on. We've had victims of the Soviet secret police from Eastern Europe and Russia on. We've had victims of the communist oppressors on from China, the Maoist. We've had victims of the Vietnamese oppressors on. And I've also interviewed survivors of Hitler's Germany as well. But there is an author, Hilmar von Campe, and he's written Defeating the Totalitarian Lie, a former Hitler youth warns America. And I've scanned over the book. It's excellent. I just got it last week before I went out of town, but I do recommend it to everyone from his perspective. So for the balance of the hour, the next 51 minutes, we're going to be spending some time with Hilmar von Campe. He moved out of Germany after World War II and lived in Central South America and then Mexico and now the United States for the last 20 years. His website is voncampe.com. We have that up on screen. Also simulcasting on the radio at prisonplanet.tv for prisonplanet.tv members. And it'll also be archived up there for everybody who wants to be able to see the show, not just hear it. I want to thank all the great radio listeners as well. But they have openly announced 3.4 million Girl Scouts are being trained by Homeland Security to, quote, fight terror and be a PR spokesman for the government. They always claim it's for Al-Qaeda. Then they flip it and say it's for Homeland Security, for gun owners, conservatives, libertarians. We broke the MIAC report and the DHS report 8 months ago on that subject. Here, when I was in Hardin, Montana, the last night I went up to Billings to catch my plane the next day. In the hotel was a Girl Scouts convention with police and Homeland Security. So I'm not just reading this in the Associated Press. I am seeing it. The Boy Scouts, New York Times reports, are training for gun confiscation to, quote, take on disgruntled vets. The New York Times says it's a good thing. We cover that in my new film coming out fall, The Republic. They've got citizen spies everywhere. They're training everyone to spy. They're training us to submit to tyranny. It's happening all over the planet. The hate speech laws, in the name of fighting Hitlerian-type things, are actually being used to bring in Hitler-like systems of control. So joining us is Hilmar von Campe, author of Defeating the Totalitarian Lie, a former Hitler youth warns America. And we're going to get into his warning to America and the parallels today. But I first want him to describe the citizen spies, the Hitler youth, the process, how they turned them against their families, how this culture took over. Because the Germans were very moral people. Just like Americans in the 30s and 40s were more moral than we are now, Germans were very moral then, probably even more moral, as I've studied it, on average, crime rates, not stealing, not lying, than Americans. A very moral first world Christian nation taken over by Hitler very quickly. Now, that can happen here, and they are training the police and military to engage us now. So we're going to talk about all of this and how we stop it. Mr. von Campe, thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm glad to be here and on your show.
It's good to have you here with us today. You've got the floor. Tell us about your youth, being in the Hitler Youth, what you witnessed.
Well, I was 7 years old when the Nazis took over. So, with other words, I did not have no concept that was something which was there. My father, however, he was a civil servant. He was what here is a county commissioner. He was responsible for a certain area in Germany. But here in America, you are being elected. In Germany, you are being appointed by the government. So the first day after the Nazis had taken over, they immediately started their own on-the-side organization, I might say, in the whole country in Germany, between my father and between his superior area, with a bigger area, and the provinces. They all had an organization of the Nazis at their side, which controlled what was being done and what was not being done.
Were those called the local Gauleiters, or what were they called?
Yeah, the Gauleiter was the party person for a province. My father's side Nazi was Kreis area higher class person. So they were the real Nazis, and they came to my father and asked him to join the party. And my father refused, and so they couldn't dismiss him entirely, but they threw him out of his job and put him in the corner of the country with a much lower income. But he wasn't very angry because there were others who were like him.
So your father was demoted because he wouldn't fervently serve Hitler as a sub-Gauleiter, as the county commissioner. Like Arnold's father, he loved it and served with pleasure. Schwarzenegger. Continue expanding from there. Yeah,
I will give you the high points of it. They, of course, the Nazis controlled the whole media, which at that time consisted only of the newspapers, of the radio, and of the film industry. And it was forbidden by penalty of death to listen to foreign information. And my father, when there were two broadcasters at that time, one was BBC, and another one was Büro Münster in Switzerland, who broadcasted German language information into the air, and my father at 10 o'clock at night sat in front of the radio and listened to what they had to say. So he was informed about what other people thought about the Germans.
So even though your father didn't like Hitler, his son ended up being a Hitler-Jugend. Explain how that happened.
Well, he just didn't. I mean, I think he was aware of the character of the Nazis. And in our family, there were two groups pretty soon. One were the Nazis and the other one were the non-Nazis, and my father was heading up the non-Nazis in his family, and then the others. And at the end, we didn't talk to each other anymore.
Now, that's a key point, because this happens under these states. The state knows the sons or the daughters are young. They want to show off to their parents. And a lot of times they get the kids to even end up turning in their parents. Or, the kid comes home in the uniform and mom and dad have got to kiss their butt, basically. And I've read a lot about that happening in the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany and in Fidel's Cuba, where the dad or the mother knows it's bad, but the kids get indoctrinated. And you're saying your family was divided. Were you the leader of the Nazis in your family, or was somebody else?
No, I was not. I was a child. This is what I afterwards learned. What you said is absolutely correct. The Nazis tried to get through the children to the parents and control what they were doing and what they shouldn't do, and so forth.
You know Hitler's favorite saying, did you hear this at the time? First we get the women, then we've got the children, so follow the men?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard that one, but that was his, he was after the youth, there was no question about it. And they also had a parallel organization with school. That's where the Nazi elite was being trained, and they had my elder brother on their list to get him into it. And for my parents, was it very difficult. Their main concern in all these years was to save the character of us children, so that we were not taken over by the Nazi ideology. And they only got my elder brother out of the system, so to speak, out of the Nazi school, with the help of a doctor who certified that he had some health reasons why he couldn't be in such a school. So that worked. So we did not.
So total federalization of schools. How was your family later divided? How did you find out they were divided, Nazi, pro-Nazi, anti-Nazi?